Hey everybody, Matt here from Matt's Movies, Music and More, welcoming you to this week's movie review episode. Yay! Fake laugh, fake applause, great. Right, this week, you could say it's not really a movie, it's more of a documentary, which it is, but again, it's movie running time, so I guess I count it as a movie. So the film I'm talking about today is the movie To Hell and Back, the KANE Hodder story. Now, I'm a huge fan of KANE Hodder. I think KANE Hodder is an amazing stuntman, and he has done lots and lots of different films over the years, different types of movies, not just horror films, but he's also done actions as well. To many of you out there who don't know who KANE Hodder is best remembered as being the actor that played Jason in the Friday the 13th movie 4 times. He played him from Friday the 13th Part 7 all the way up to Jason X. Sadly, he didn't get the job for Freddy vs. Jason, which is something that really hurt him to this day. He was replaced for that film by Ken Kersinger, another guy who actually, as I found out in this documentary, had played Jason for one scene in Jason Takes Manhattan, which KANE Hodder didn't do. So the movie really talks about Kane's career, with his early days as a young kid to the point when he first started getting work. Originally as an actor, he actually made his acting debut in the 1974 Neil Simon movie California Suite, which I thought was kind of interesting because he played a little bit part in the movie, just a little extra. And something major happened in 1977 which affected his life, which was he was being interviewed by a television crew out in the desert, and it was a fire stunt. And what happened was he was standing by a lake out in this like desert thing, and because the wind was quite strong, it was putting the fire out too quickly. So they decided to move a little bit away from the lake in case, you know. And what happened was when he set himself on fire for the fire stunt, it actually went totally wrong because it was to do with, I believe it was the type of glues that were used or something that they'd used, and he suffered 3rd degree burns which scarred him for life. And I believe it's mostly all around sort of his neck all the way down like his chest and everything like that. And it really tells a story in this film about that and his rehabilitation and his mental health, and the fact that as a kid as well he suffered with severe bullying, and one day he stood up to the bullies, and it kind of made him feel a lot better about himself. But you watch it, you just feel really, really sad for the guy, because I didn't know any of this at all. And you know, for the fact that the guy came out of this on the other side is amazing. But the problem that he had was that he was admitted to a hospital, and I believe he was admitted to a fire and burns department. And to be honest, they didn't really have a clue what they were doing. But he eventually got moved to the hospital that changed his life. And I can't remember what the hospital was called, but they had all the state-of-the-art equipment, and it helped him come through on the other side a lot better, although it would have been a lot quicker had he gone there in the first place, hence why he mentioned it in the film. But I'm so pleased when I heard after he was telling the story about that you know, that he was able to get on with his life, because obviously having a traumatic experience like that could be hard on anybody. But it does show you that there can sometimes be light at the end of the tunnel. So as he started getting into his stunt work again, he did actually enjoy working with fire, and he has done many stunts which include fire in them. So, you know, that's a real surprise, because some people would obviously get scarred by it to the point that, as he did, that you'd think that mentally he wouldn't ever want to do that again. But he's actually quite comfortable with it, and that really, really puzzles me. But you know, everyone's different. But the fact that he's worked on numerous films over the years, such as action movies like Lone Wolf McQuade, to comedies like Hard Bodies, and he worked with Wes Craven on The Hills Have Eyes Part 2, which is kind of a a so-so movie of Wes Craven's, kind of a rush release thing, which I might talk about one day on this channel. He began working on a relationship with Sean Cunningham, who actually had worked with Wes Craven on The Last House on the Left. Sean Cunningham was responsible for being the producer of the Friday the 13th films, and he didn't work on Friday the 13th at first with Sean. He actually worked on House, which is one of my favourite 80s horror movies, which Sean Cunningham had a hand in, and I really like that film. I think it's really, really fun. And Kane Hodder is actually the only actor in all 4 of the House movies. He actually had a bit part in all 4 of them, and I think that's quite fun. But he also was in Prison, which is a movie directed by Rennie Harlin, and he did Waxworks and Deep Star 6. I'm trying to think of some of the different types of movies that he done, because he done things like Texas Chainsaw 3 and the Cindy Crawford movie Fair Game, and he also did Spawn and loads of movies. Out for Justice with Steven Seagal, Wishmaster, which he has a bit part in, because obviously Wishmaster was one of those movies that had all these horror actors playing little bit parts, which I love Wishmaster. I think Wishmaster's great. But obviously what he's best remembered for is Friday the 13th, which he first played Jason Voorhees in Friday the 13th Part 7, The New Blood, which was the one with Tina, who has telekinetic powers. And I believe he said in the documentary that that's his favourite Jason setup, you know, the way that Jason looked in all of the films that he did. I think he said that that was the best costume, and he thought that Tina was probably the best adversary of Jason. But obviously he'd done Jason Takes Manhattan, which was a real disaster, to be honest. I mean, Jason Takes Manhattan, the title, you think it's going to all be based in Manhattan, but it's not. It's mostly on a lake which goes into like the Atlantic Ocean or something. It's really bizarre how that happens. But it's a so-so movie, and obviously Jason Goes to Hell, the final Friday, which we actually find out in this documentary that at the very end scene of Jason Goes to Hell, the scene in which the glove of Freddy Krueger comes out of the sand to pull in Jason's mask, that was actually Kane Hodder's hand in Freddy Krueger's glove. So Kane Hodder was actually responsible for taking Jason to hell in a way. And then obviously it wouldn't be until 2002 with the release of Jason X, which is a real Marmite movie, I'd say, because a lot of people hate it. I actually think it's brilliant. I think it's so funny because it's just so over the top, because it's completely unrealistic with the fact that Jason is in space and everything. But you watch it, it's kind of like if you were to watch Snakes on a Plane. You know exactly what you're going to get. And when you find out that Jason X is Jason in space, that's funny. And I watched it and I just thought, this is a really, really funny movie. It's one of those so bad it's actually really good. So Jason X really ranks high up for me. But the fact that after Jason X had finished theatrically and stuff like that, I believe the Freddy vs. Jason talk had been going on for years. They were trying to get the right script and the right people involved. And for many years they had different directors attached. And eventually the director who got picked to direct Freddy vs. Jason was Ronnie Yu, who had recently, I think, directed Bride of Chucky, as well as a few other like Jean-Claude Van Damme movies and Jet Li. So apparently, I don't know if it's Ronnie Yu's fault or if it's New Line Cinema's fault, but clearly there was some sort of disconnect, because it just sounds that Kane was told that he had the role, and then all of a sudden he didn't hear back from them and found out that it actually been replaced by Ken Kurtzinger. And I feel really bad about that, because, you know, this guy had worked really hard in this role. He is the definitive Jason. If you watch any of the Friday the 13th movies, he is the best Jason. His stature, he says in the documentary that he's got this breathing technique which shows Jason's chest sort of coming out, you know, breathe in, breathe out, like that. And I think that he was the best choice. And this documentary really shows that it hit him hard. And it took him a long time to actually sort of accept it and get over it and actually make a bit of fun about it, which he did. And one thing I think helped him with that is the fact that he was getting cast for so many different projects afterwards, such as, did you know that he had a bit part in the movie Monster, directed by Patty Jenkins, starring Charlize Theron? He was in an Academy Award nominated movie with Academy Award winning actress at the time. So that's pretty amazing. And he also played Ed Gein in an Ed Gein horror movie, which I actually haven't seen, but I always wanted to. But the movies that he's done recently, in which he plays a very important character, just like he did with Jason, is he starred in these films directed by Adam Green called Hatchet, in which he plays Victor Crowley. Now, I've never seen the Hatchet movies, and I'm hoping one day I'm going to get an opportunity to watch them and talk about them on this channel. But I hear that the Hatchet films are a load of fun, and Victor Crowley in particular is fun as well, because obviously he's in all this latex costume and stuff like that, so you don't really see him under his masks. Yeah, so with that, he's obviously gone on to forge a career, and he's actually getting more in front of the camera now, because he's done a horror film I think called BTK, and I think the Boston Strangler as well. I'm not sure, I might have got that one wrong, but I can't quite remember. But Kane's gone on to do really, really well now in Hollywood, and is getting in lots of things, and I'm really pleased for the guy. And from what I've seen on YouTube, and also before I'd seen this documentary, I'd seen it on YouTube, that he just seems a really down-to-earth, really nice guy. And the fact that on this documentary actually shows that some of his co-stars from different films and directors and other people, they all say that Kane is such a genuine human being, that he will give fans who queue up all around the block as much time as they need to spend with him. And one of his signature things he likes to do at the Comic Cons or wherever he does his meet and greets is he strangles the fan that wants to have their picture taken. So he puts his arm around them and strangles them to a point, you know, without hurting them, of course. But that's apparently what they enjoy. So what did I think of this documentary? I thought it was a really, really, really well done documentary. It was really enjoyable. It has highs and it has lows, and of course it has the payoff, which is, you know, the redemption side of, you know, the fact that he came out on the other side and he managed to have the successful career. He had his wife and the kids and everything like that, and it's great. I'm really, really pleased for the guy that he managed to come through on the other side in a great way. So that's my take on To Hell and Back. I think if you're a horror fan and you love the Friday the 13th movies and you want to find out more about Kane Hodder, the guy involved in them, you definitely need to check this documentary out. It's definitely worth picking up. I believe it's available to buy in America on DVD and Blu-ray. It hasn't had a release in the UK at present, but fingers crossed it will come out at some point, whether it's on digital streaming sites, I'm not entirely sure. But I suppose that's the end of this review. So thank you very much for checking it out. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to check out the next video. Hopefully it'll be something that you enjoy. Also check out my official Facebook, the Twitter, the Instagram, and of course the YouTube and the Patreon. All the web links are in all of these videos. I keep forgetting to say that. So if you need to find them, just click on the links below and you'll be able to check them out there. So fingers crossed we'll catch up with all you guys very well soon. So all the best.